And so, good evening, Sangha members. It's so good to see every single one of you. Welcome to Sangha with Insight Meditation Community of Bloomington-Normal. Together in Sangha, we practice togetherness. We come together to form one Sangha body, connected on our own practice of mindfulness. Because we feel that our own practice of mindfulness is one of the greatest things that we can share with others. It's something that is wonderful to be shared with others and cultivated with others. So welcome to the Sangha. It's always so good to see you. This is going to be a special meeting. Tonight's meeting will be a community-led Dharma talk meeting. I will be giving a Dharma talk, and yeah, we'll go from there. Let's see. And so let's go ahead and arrive. Arriving formally, arriving together. I believe everyone that's going to be here tonight has arrived. And if you like, closing the eyes. And maybe just taking a slower breath to welcome yourself here. Welcoming all parts of you. And also taking a breath to welcome others. Maybe practicing this generosity of taking a slow, kind breath. So you can be here with others. And welcoming all parts of ourselves, not just the good-looking part, the perfect part, the mindful part, the tired part, the confused part, the scared parts of us are welcome here. All of our emotions are welcome here. Whatever it is we're feeling inside right now, that is also welcome. And maybe welcoming in all those who support you, welcoming them to be here. Family, friends. How would they be if they knew that you are here right now? Honestly. That smile of, hey, it's nice to see you doing something you love. Feeling the support of our friends, those who know us best. We can also welcome in all parts of this world around us. We can welcome in those who are being oppressed. We may in some way welcome in the oppressors, either by simply acknowledging their presence or finding a way to be with them. Because we sit for ourselves, but we also sit for those who cannot sit. In this time, we can breathe for those who cannot breathe. We can walk, practice freely for those who cannot walk or practice freely. And we can bring in all of the fear and the uncertainty. We can bring that here and we can sit with it. So we can also sit with others who are feeling fear and uncertainty. I want to welcome the Buddha. Why can't the Buddha be sitting here right next to us? This omnipresent, kind, compassionate eyes. And I welcome the Dhamma. These teachings, this insight, this wisdom that we can choose to cultivate. And seeing how life works. How it is that we actually respond to life. And finally, let's welcome the Sangha. This truly unique and special entity that we all create equally. This thing that is much stronger beyond this meeting. This time in Sangha together that we sit, welcoming one another, welcoming ourselves. This meeting, these practices, these words will carry on with us. With all of this, I welcome you. Coming back. So welcome. I'll start out with just a few announcements. Our next meeting will be a Dharma teacher meeting. Our sign-up sheet, I put the link up there. If you would like to submit a recording of anything, there's still spots available. And then our forest walk is coming up in less than 2 weeks. Yay! So far, no one outside of our Sangha has registered officially. That's okay. But it's great to see that you guys are going to be there if you can. And so, yeah, please consider getting the word out, sharing our post on your Facebook page, however you would like. Yeah, the one mindful morning. Again, it's just Saturday morning, mini retreat. And after being on retreat this past weekend, I really like the idea of, like, the main appeal of this is long, continuous, sustained practice. So we would have over 2 hours of continuous, sustained practice of walking and sitting, sitting and walking. And that's really unique. I think that's special in and of itself. All are welcome. This should be appropriate for everyone. And that's all I've got. Does anyone have any personal announcements or questions?
Unfortunately, I am not going to be able to be here next week.
Okay.
I have a work meeting. Mandatory. So
Oh, yeah, it
I'll miss
happens.
you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for letting us know.
Thank you.
And yeah, all right. Looks like we all know each other here. And now it's just time for some check-ins. Check-ins. I'll say, how's your practice been? But let me see actually if I have. Yeah, we'll just leave it open. How's it been? It's been a whole week. A lot has happened. A lot has happened. This time for sharing is just about making connection. Yeah. And whoever'd like to share.
Well, I don't know. My practice has been about kind of setting the stage, but with an edge of desperation to it. You know, I take time each morning to sit. I try to use that time deliberately to set some intentions, shake off. I spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time in the morning ruminating, and so try to shake that off. Cast off those nighttime terrors, I guess. But lately I've just noted this element of desperation to it. It's like this hope, this like fervent hope that man, it's got to help. You know, that there's just so much. It feels like there's so much that's wrong. And I'm bringing judgment to, you know, the causes and conditions that I don't have any control over and everything. But it seems wrong to me, a lot of what's happening. And so this kind of fervent, like, come on, this has got to be making a difference. And then I get midway through the day and I'm not sure if it does or not. So it kind of comes back the next day with this desperation, like, come on, maybe this time. So helpful, but I don't know if I'd go as far as effective. Yeah. Thanks for letting me share.
I can say I resonate a lot with that, Dirk. Lately, I've been feeling like a sense of no control on the outcomes and how things are going. And I feel like because the things are so emotionally charged, I feel like just being as vocal person that I am, I'm very expressive of how I'm feeling about things. And after that has been done, I feel like, does my practice really helping me? Was that like I didn't feel calm, I didn't feel collective in that moment. And I started questioning it. Like, I want to believe that it has helped me to carry me this far, but just moments are just sometimes I question it a lot. Like, has it made me a better person? Has it made me better in my responses to things? Has it even had an impact on who I am? And it's just very defeating sometimes. So it just feels like the life is going to keep happening, and how do I lose faith but at the same time have faith? And that's the most difficult paradoxical situation to be in.
I think I've gotten in a little better about a regular sitting every day. Um, and I'm feeling kind of the same way. Like sometimes I'm like, is this working? am I bringing it to, you know, my day, which sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. I'm having a severe, I mean, one of the reasons I came here in the first place was because I guess the terms are something like emotional regulation. I'm having a really hard time controlling my emotions, and this is something new for me, for the most part. Um, as far as like being so angry that I just lose complete control. And, I know what I'm supposed to do, but in that moment, I can never stop and just, do the things, go to the breath, go to a different place and just, it's just like my anger just comes on so fast. So that's not good. And I'm really trying to figure that out. But I figure um in the past when I was meditating a lot and I had consistently for a couple years every day. I went back to Insight Timer to look at my stats and I'm like, yeah, it was very consistent. And I remember how differently I felt. And so I think part of the problem is that I just am kind of starting over again. But also, I think a lot of us are dealing with things that we have never had to deal with before. And and it's too much. It's overwhelming. There's a situation that happened at work. A young woman that I work with is in the guard. And so now she is activated. Now I don't think she may not have to go. They are still federally activated. They may not be deployed. But this is a college student, who just got an apartment on her own. She was living with a friend and, she's almost done with school. And, it's just makes me feel so awful. And then for everybody that's just experiencing like trauma and just terrible things happening to them. So anyway, it definitely has been a challenging week. Thank you.
I appreciate everyone's heartful shares. Um, I'm also feeling the heaviness. And in a way, I'm grateful to be coming back from a very mindful experience, and that here I am feeling very unregulated. When you said that, Karen, I was like, man, that word just bam. Like, it's almost as if like my chair is like bubbling. There's like a slight boil to my existence. And it's just because it's like it's just an influx of like ideas and thoughts and stimulation and all of these things. And it takes a lot to get settled. Um, so I just got back from a personal retreat solo. Going into it, I had a lot of fear that I didn't recognize previously, because previous solo retreats go well, but they don't really go much. Like I'll sit really well for like 6 hours, and then, the idea of being in a hotel, whatever, it just kind of like just fades off. And I end up thinking, was that worth it? You know? And so I wanted to going into this, I wanted to be like, man, I hope this is worth it. And so it was a great realization of that. I feel like for me, it was a big lesson on this, but I just want to share with anyone. If you want to make this effective, there needs to be three things. This is, of course, just in my mind. Knowing what you're doing, skill. That's what we're doing here. We're learning skills. Then you need to have belief in yourself. Abandon views, abandon expectations, preconceived anything. The more you practice, you think you know what's going on, but don't be so sure. Always go in with the beginner's mind. And then the third thing, which has been so true since I've been home, is if you think you're being mindful enough and things are just slather on the mindfulness. If it's like a salve or like an ointment, just like cake it all over you. You cannot put enough on. I swear. It will protect you from the elements. It will benefit you. That's the application part. That's the part that we may not understand, in that I'm in this random spot. I can apply. This is a time for application. So 3 things: skill, belief in yourself, and application. Huge, huge. And I think that those are those kinds of things that aren't quite fostered forefront in the mind when we do practice together, or when you do go on like a group retreat. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Yeah. So let's jump in. Yeah, let's jump in. Here we go. What time is it? Okay. Giving Dharma talks. You'll have this clarity of insight that will build over time, and it will, become more complex, more refined, and, there'll be times where it just hits you as clear as day. Like, wow, that's it. That's great. And so that's what happened in preparation for this Dharma talk. I mean, this is a compilation of conversations I've had with myself for a long time. And so I thank you very much for giving me a platform to share this. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your heartfulness. I'm deeply grateful. And also, going on this retreat, I said, I know what I'm going to say, or at least I have the idea in my mind. I'm not going to write anything down. I'm just going to do a mental map, and then I'm going to come back and just wing it. This will be a practice in of itself, whereas before I would write and write and write. And the thing is the more that you work on it, the more it changes, and it really kind of becomes a different talk, which is really hard to define a title before you ever give a talk, because it's like you want to try and hit that target. So I have not really written this talk out. It is somewhat prepared, but I just want to kind of leave it open in a way. And so the purpose of a Dharma talk is to share the Dharma. So basically kind of letting it flow. I am kind of tuning into my own experience as I'm sharing what's on my mind, and you're doing the same. Feel free to just close your eyes, maybe even start meditating if you would like, just coming home to the breath. And I'm going to be saying a lot of stuff, lots of facts and science and stories, and try not to grab onto any one which thing. Just let it flow by. And whatever sticks was supposed to stick. It was the prime condition for it to stick. And it will stay stuck. So don't try to write it down. Don't try to build on it just yet. It'll just be there. And so, and if anything else, you really don't care about what I'm saying, or, maybe I'm just rubbing you the wrong way, feel free to tune me out. And, you can make this a practice of, tuning someone out. So, I'd like to open this talk. So this talk is called Love, Across Space and Time. And I'd like to open with this quote. It's one of the first quotes I put on our Facebook page. It's from Nisargadatta Maharaj. It says, "Wisdom tells me I am nothing. Love tells me I am everything. And between the two, my life flows." That quote has such a profound impact on me. And a lot of people who reach closer towards enlightenment say things very similar to this. This kind of paradigm between nothing and everything. And so just maybe sitting with that, and if you'd like to share, what does this quote mean to you? What does this quote bring up for you? Wisdom tells me I am nothing. Love tells me I'm everything. And between the two, my life flows. And so, listening to this, I am viewing it from the perception of time. And how, yeah. So ultimately what this talk is about is time. Time, and our perception of time, and how that creates a great deal of suffering in our lives. And it is that inaccurate management view of time and space that really leaves, basically, we are so busy trying to manage our time, getting enough out of it, doing it wisely, that we miss the stuff that we're here for. We miss the reasons we're living. And that's, in my opinion, to love. To give love and to receive love. Yeah. And so, yeah, let's just jump in. I'm going to start out with talking about dimensionality. We're going to be looking at time through the lens of dimensions. So first, we're going to start out with 0 dimensions. No dimensions. Nothingness. Emptiness. For me, when I think of this, there's just something beautiful about it. There's just something that feels immense. It feels absolute. It feels comforting in its assuredness. But also, there's a sense of it being haunting. The sense of nothingness. No beginning, no end, nothing. Pure emptiness, no form. And I ask each of you, maybe just a show of hands, have you ever been in a state of mindfulness where you lost the sense of self? It's not that you forgot about yourself. It's just that kind of like a musician's in the moment. That they're not really thinking about themselves. They're just completely immersed in the moment. Has that been an experience of yours? Someone? Yeah. And so this moment where you're so in touch with what's going on that you lose this sense of identity, you lose this sense of time, you lose the sense of like a purpose or a reason. It's just being, and it has all of those elements of spaciousness, absolute comfort, but also very haunting. One of the first times I really felt it, I went like that. And it was in the middle of a meditation hall, and the teacher asked me, and he's like, yep, that happened to me sitting at a stoplight. I was looking at a crow, and it just and he used that word haunting. It's like, yeah. So 0 dimensions, nothingness. This is a huge concept in Buddhism, entirely theoretical. And I think it's extremely helpful to look at in our ability to abandon what we perceive to be as true. Abandon our perceptions of things. That we can just sit there and take a framework and say, the possibility of nothingness is a possibility. So we can hold that true. And then we have one dimension. One dimension is just a single point. And so a single point is all that it is. But because of that point, it now references that there's space. So there's a point, and then there's space. But really that point, it's not exactly a thing. It's really actually more of just a reference that there is space. Yeah. So again, theoretical, one dimension. Then we have two dimensions. And we can think about this as like a piece of paper. Length and width, and our length and height. And even then on a piece of paper, it's still really theoretical because there's still, some three dimensions there. Then we have the third dimension, which we're existing in now, right? So we have height, length, width, and so this is a three-dimensional thing, etc., etc. But this is also theoretical, and that it doesn't exist alone. Three dimensions exist in a space, and that space is the fourth dimension, and that fourth dimension is time. And so this fourth dimension of time, we only perceive through relativity. We only perceive representations of it. And we only see it as a process of change. Yeah. We don't see, time affecting something. We see, the process of time. And so it gives us this sense of relativity, motion, change. And so when I just want to share this with you, and so you can see that this is a visual representation of the fourth dimension. This is called the tesseract. And so what it's showing is a 3D object moving through space over time. And as you'll see, it's tessellating itself where every point, I don't know if you can see my pointer, every point is only moving because it's relative to something else. And what is actually moving is time. Here's another cool way to look at it. So this projection is 3D space, but it is a projection of 4D space. So we can drop this visualization for now. I just want to show that because it's cool. But if you're sitting here now, looking at the screen, you're existing in a 3D space. Yeah. The fourth dimension you could see as our 3D space is moving through the fourth dimension, right? So we are in this box or your room and we're moving through space and time. Or you could see it as you are fixed and the energy of time is moving through you, right? We have this energy wave moving through 3D space. And so even in our meditation, maybe if you like, just closing your eyes and taking a slower breath. Almost getting that sense of slowing down time as it's moving past us. And coming back. And so, so now we're looking at, time is moving through us. We only understand it because we see its effect on things. We can measure it. We have representations, but we don't actually know that it's there. But in our meditation practice, we can really get in tune with time. Watching it pass, watching all of the representations of it in our body, in our experience. And it's very, very interesting to look at time this way because it continues to step out of the way that we normally see things. We're challenging our view. That's one thing I really did this weekend, challenging my view on everything. It's part of this practice of cultivating right view. And it's amazing how much of our views are shaped by very core beliefs that we're not aware of. And so our perception of things is constantly changing. A lot of times we're not exactly sure what creates it. We have these views as to, you said you opened it up, Dirk. It's one of my favorite quotes. What is good, what is bad, but there is no good or bad. It's like both can be true. We have this absolute truth and this relative truth. It's a perceptual shift that we use to kind of navigate and tell us what's going on, how are we doing, what are we doing. It all depends on our perspective. That's a pretty big topic then. But we also realize through meditation that our perspectives are really limited based on our senses. Yeah, we can only really detect what it is that we sense, that we know to be there. But even going down even more, we know that there's limitations to our senses, like this pin here, right? This pin is made up of plastic. Plastic is made up of polycarbonate chains. Those chains are chains of carbons and everything else like that. And then we start looking at the atoms themselves. An atom is made of neutrons and protons and electrons. And what's interesting is that the space inside of an atom is massive. Does anyone have an idea of the space inside of an atom? Wonderful. So, an atom you could see as a nucleus with electrons orbiting. That nucleus is made up of protons and neutrons together. If we were going to look at this as a visualization of a baseball field, the nucleus would be the size of a baseball on the pitcher mound at Yankee Stadium, the Cubs Stadium, we'll say, the Cubs Stadium. Electrons that are orbiting the nucleus are the size of a fly flying around the stadium. So in each atom, there is way more space than there is matter, mass. That's weird. So wait a second. What does that mean? So we're mostly space? Then you look at subatomic particles, and what E equals mc squared says, theory of relativity, is that everything is equal particle and energy wave. So things have mass and they have energy, and they are both existing simultaneously. The only difference is your perspective. If you look at it from one way, it acts as a particle. If you look at it from another way, it acts as an energy wave. So what are we supposed to do with all of this? You look at yourself and you realize you are mostly space. You are mostly energy, vacillating between energy and mass. Let's just sit with that for maybe a second. Like, wow. We have this perspective that we're so solid, but we're changing all the time. You're just imagining how many skin cells are sloughing off your body right now. the chemical processes happening inside the cells. And time is flowing over all of it. And so I like to think that a lot of our suffering comes, well, it's in the Buddhist teachings, a lot of our suffering comes from trying to hold on to something that we perceive to be permanent, unchanging. You know, I wrote a little poem or something, says, we all, as kids, we went to the shore. I don't remember how it goes actually, but basically this idea that we all go to the shore and we build these sandcastles and we say, look at mine, my sandcastle's the best, yay, 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 here we go, and it becomes our beach and it's our day and everything's great, and then the sun goes down and we go home, we completely forget about everything we just did, and the waves return the shore as it was thousands and thousands of years. I see that as our situation, is that we are working so hard to establish ourselves and make an impact and make a name for ourselves and do all of this stuff so we're not forgotten, and we're missing the point. It's this massive Ozymandias situation of, look at me, don't forget me, but leave time for there to be something memorable. Spend your time well. And so, yeah, like, how many times have you gone, oh my gosh, where'd the time go? Or you're sitting in meditation for like 10 minutes and it's like, oh my gosh. And it's this problem of like too much and not enough, and it never seems like it's there when you need it, and yada yada. Sorry. Yeah. And it makes me think of a quote going around about Obama, like a lot of the world's problems is old men trying to hold on. Yeah. And so time. It's a pretty interesting topic. I think of, our time together, especially like over the holidays or even on a phone call. Hey, how's it going? Da 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 da. With lots of friends in my former lives and my family members, it was, hey, what's up? It's a catch up. It's a review. My week has been goodbye. But there was never the joy. There was never the love. That when they're gone, that's what I want. That's what's left. And I feel in these days that when I do meet with someone and I do interact with them, that I could say when the time has passed, that if that was our last time, I'm happy. That was a goal I cultivated quite some time ago. But it really brings in that focus as to why we're here. What is it we're doing? Why do we want to be with others? And, it is this love that we feel. It's this connection. It's this sense of support that we feel that is so important to us. And so how do we make the most of our time? We can make the most of our time by being present. Being present. Being present in ways that we have practiced in the past of being calm, cultivating a sense of calmness, security, and letting insight come. But there's also another approach, which comes from Pema Chodron, who I revisited recently, but also Dr. Kristen Neff, who is an expert on self-compassion. And it's this idea of fierce compassion, fierceness. In the Shambhala tradition, they talk about a compassionate warrior, one who is fierce in being gentle, fierce in being kind. And, you know, maybe that word alone just kind of gives you that feeling of meeting something directly, as much as you can with your full experience, but in a way that is compassionate. So bringing that fierceness into your practice of closing the eyes and saying, how close can I be here right now? How much can I apply myself? For me, maybe, I don't know if this works for you too, but like just with the eyes of like widening the eyes gives me that sense of like, I am very here right now. I am very in with this moment. And having that sense of focus and bringing it into your meditation of, I am going to stick with this as best as I can, fiercely, compassionately, but also with ease. That's the second part. So that's actually kind of tricky. We're going to practice with this fierce compassion of being gentle and not being so dry and cut with it. And then, and so we're going to practice with this concentration, and I'm going to guide it in as we are. It's a very simple practice of just staying very connected with the moment. But how does this all come back to love? I wanted to establish the importance of this moment, but also the importance of love in every moment, but also how do we practice love in every moment in this way that's fierce and that is direct and head-on and constantly applied. Chukan Trungpa Rinpoche, Pema Chodron's teacher, says, heed continuously, heed slowly. So basically, we're always having this application, we're always moving, we're always going forward, but it's gentle, it's slow, it's careful. And so, it's always this kind of paradoxical thing. But one thing for me that's very, 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 very simple. Eyes of compassion. I know when I am viewing with eyes of compassion. If I'm talking to you, what's coming? That's not a good example. How do I explain eyes of compassion? I don't know. I know when I have eyes of compassion on, and I know when I have them on, I can tell the other person knows too, because they don't sense ill will from me. And if you want to connect with people, you want them to feel your safety, your love, you want to cultivate these hallmark moments in any moment, rid yourself of ill will. Put on eyes of compassion. Ill will is one of the hindrances, but I would say it's all of the hindrances. It's this will of yourself that is ill, that brings illness. This is a will toward yourself, right? I'm not very good at that. No. That's ill will towards yourself. How does that reflect back onto others? I'm not being very mindful right now. They're not being very mindful either. Yeah, right? It slingshots right back to you. That ill will, the eyes of compassion. I can see this in a way that is compassionate. Mindfulness may not be here for me right now, and that's nice. That's okay. Maybe it's not there for them. I wish there would be, mindfulness for them. Eyes of compassion. this has just been tremendously helpful for me. In the same way that Plum Village teaches metta. How do you practice metta? You smile. That's it. Like, what a simple and perfect teaching. It's all right there in a smile. Smile to yourself, a smile to others, a smile to the moment. And then the last part is that when you have eyes of compassion, you recognize others who have eyes of compassion. And you also recognize when people do not have eyes of compassion. Not to say there are those and those are not. It's that maybe they're not seeing with them at this moment. And for me, this realization of seeing they're not seeing with eyes of compassion right now. That takes off the pain on me. That they didn't receive something like I thought that they would. Or they reacted in a way that I felt was maybe harsh. Well, are they looking at this in a compassionate way? Most likely not. Can I have compassion for that? Yeah. And boom, there and done. Easy. And so, all these times that we feel, oh, did I say the wrong thing? Did I do this or do that? It's because in the past we were met with someone who was not compassionate. Oh, I shouldn't have said that thing. Why? Well, somewhere in our mind, way off, that wasn't received well. And so we put the guards on. One of the most painful things is being rejected. Could be scientifically the most painful emotion for us. It means death because we're social creatures. But to be rejected of your own love, oof, that's like a double whammy. So we guard ourselves. We want to protect. We don't want to show too much. We want to just, have this thing on it. But with eyes of compassion, this sense of an open perspective, we can see how it's there or it's not, and how it is there for us, and how it can be there for us all the time. And so, I don't know. This just really made sense to me, and maybe it makes sense to you. Like I said, if mindfulness is like a salve, a balm, a jelly, rub it on. Slather yourself. Just, it's good. It's good. But also, resentments, pain, any of that, it's like a dirty rag. All your resentments are just dirty rags. And just like a dirty rag, you can just throw it in the corner in the pile of all the other dirty rags. So, walking along, oh my gosh, they charged me for something I didn't do, da 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 da. Oh, that's a resentment. Oh, ew, dirty rag, stinky. Throw it in the corner. Because I don't have to worry about it right now. Because I know when I sit down, I'm mindful, I practice in the way that I've been talking about, all the rags will become clean at once. It's like throwing them in the spin cycle. They'll all wash out together. I don't have to sit there and, we can have time for that. That's a purification process of really working out the dirt deep in the fibers. But, all those things that we run into every day of, just throw it in the dirty rag pile. So hopefully that helps. All right. We're going to have some time for practice. And let's just lead right into concentration. And so this practice will be about 20 minutes. I'm sorry, we'll make this practice about 15 minutes. And so finding a posture that helps you stay alert. Coming to this practice with fierceness. and making this practice very, very simple. Simply observing the sensation of breathing at a very focal point on the body. And I would highly suggest that you try to stay with that one point the entire time. And so taking a moment to tune in to an area of the body that feels pleasant to be with. And an area there that's easy to focus in on, small space. And as we practice, I'd like to instruct that feel free to slow down the breathing. Taking slower breaths. And when it's comfortable, letting the breath return to a natural rhythm. And so for this practice, as we have done previously, of settling in, becoming calm, and then getting into our concentration, just diving right into the breath. Either slowing the breath down to feel the grit, the fine grain, every little texture of the breath. But it might be helpful to see how focused in you can get on your breath. For me, I ask, can I feel this breath on a single nose hair? And that's our practice of focusing on breathing, slowing down so we can stay connected through every second. Letting off the breath whenever we want, just relaxing. But then also coming back, being with the breath. seeing how much in contact with the present moment you can be within the span of 1 second. And let's continue to practice in silence. You'll hear the sound of the bell to close. And with one more minute to practice. Coming back. And so we have a little time, if you'd like to share any thoughts that have come up for you. This evening I spoke about eyes of compassion. I talked about our perceptions of time, what creates suffering, and how is it that we choose to spend to show our love, to cultivate love. And how is it that we choose to spend this time here in this life? So yeah, whatever's on your heart, it can be just directed in towards the middle of the circle. And we're sharing really just for to build the collective wisdom, to see different viewpoints on a topic of just whatever's been shared. So you always have the option to pass, but I'll open the floor.
I really like the eyes of compassion. As soon as you said that, I thought of a customer and an owner at the co-op who I've known for a while because her daughter used to work there. And she is just the sweetest woman. And I don't know why she started doing this, but every time she's in there, she makes a point of coming up to me and saying hello and asking how I am. And eyes of compassion is exactly what she has. And I think I don't, like I said, I have no idea why she started doing this, but I appreciate it so much because it always makes me feel so good that she cares and I can feel it.
Yeah, I just finished this book today, this novel called I Who Have Never Known Men. And I mean, I literally just finished it like a couple hours ago. So I'm still not quite sure how this makes sense. And I don't want to go on and on about it, but it's just like post-apocalyptic thing, and these women find themselves in this cell. They don't know how they got there, but they're watched by these men who never interact or say anything to them. They just give them food, and that's how they pass their time. And there's one woman who has no memory of Earth at all, and she was quite young when. Well, so I just gave a little bit away. They don't believe that they're on Earth anymore. So anyway, this very young, the one must have come along when she was a baby. And so she has no memory of like 24-hour cycles, sunrise and sunset, any customs that we're all familiar with. And so she doesn't know how to measure time. So she starts counting her heartbeats. And so because there's always a lot of discussion about like, where are we, and is a day the same length as it was on Earth, and at what cadence do the guards come in and out, and is it nighttime? And this is obviously something that you'd think about if you were in an artificial environment where you couldn't see the sun or the moon or anything. So she starts counting her heartbeats and starts measuring time that way. And then later on in the novel, they kind of get out, and she starts measuring time by taking steps, because they start exploring this landscape that they find themselves in. And then there's a lot of discussion there. I was talking about that. How many steps have we taken? How many heartbeats? And that's how they kind of build this new conception of time. And one by one, the women die off, because they're all much older, except for this one unnamed narrator who just goes by child. And when the last person that she's with dies, she stops counting, because time no longer has any meaning unless it takes place in the company of other people, unless it's a communal thing. Otherwise, time becomes kind of meaningless. And the more that goes on, the more like, she explores this alien landscape, she starts to realize she's the only one left. And she realizes, I'm everything, but I'm nothing. And that kind of gets at that quote that Ryan started the talk with. And and she finds that in the absence of being around other people, even though she never knew what love was, the physical contact really repulses her, kind of bothers her. But in the absence of being around other people, time means nothing. Self means nothing. It's only in relation to having a conversation, to being with someone and having a task or a communal activity, that these things take on significance. And that's love. That's love. That's how we build communities together. We spend time together. We define ourselves in relation to others. And we realize that we're everything, but we're nothing. And it's in between those two conceptions of self that community happens. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting, but I just finished that book, and there's like all these things that Ryan just talked about. I'm like, it's weird. Pretty cool.
I think it was really beautiful to see like all of the dimensions of time, and how and certain different moments of meditating, you can experience those in your practice. And just the fact about practice itself, like, what Dirk was saying, if there was no one around, if I was off the grid, living in the woods on my own, didn't have to interact with another human being ever again, I think the whole purpose of my practice would be insignificant. And the need to achieve the better version of myself would almost be non-existent. It's just like a wolf tries to be better to be accepted in the pack, but a lone wolf has no need to do any of that. And I feel like um, just being disconnected from the society itself, like there is an insignificance to our existence that comes into play. And I feel like without having those connections, those interactions with people, and without understanding what it holds for you and how I could be everything for my mother, but in reality, I do understand that I'm a human, and at, at the very end of it, it's a very insignificant achievement to be a human. But I am this woman's human now, which makes everything that I do or think or associate myself to, the idea of me now holds significance to it. So, and the other part for me was, if I have significance to me because of the people that love me, which means that I should not try to strip that away from other people. So the idea of being um, fiercely loving and kind comes into play for me. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your shares. I, yeah, I have a lot to share, but I'm hesitant to say because it sounds tone deaf with all the problems that are going on right now. But from this perspective in which I have spoken on, the phrase comes to me very full-heartedly, repeatedly. I don't have time to have a problem. We have so little time on this earth, right? Like, problems are real and problems are a fact of life, but if I don't have to have a problem, I can choose not to, because there's so much stuff to do, to love, to be a part of in this life. And for some reason that phrase just like, it's like kicks me into, like, you know what? There's truth to that. There's truth to that. But also in the same way of that, when I can stop and I can tune back into what is happening, what I'm really feeling, and I see these videos of what's happening, and my heart, it doesn't break with compassion. So compassion is not wanting someone else's situation to change. It's wanting to be there for that person in that situation. And feeling that, you know how many people watch that video? I'm like, oh, yeah. But I watched that and I'm like, I'm here for you. When that happens and I will be there, you know. That's different. That's unattached. That's not, I'm not really a part of that. I'm there to be with that. It's very, very different. And so this idea of, you know, having love for myself, having eyes of compassion for myself, that is the precursor. When someone is mean to me or someone is inconsiderate or whatever, they're just not that kind, it's instantly not, they're not kind, it's they're not seeing in that way right now, and that's actually normal. You're normal. I'm the one seeing differently. That's okay. Yeah, so I have just found that, you know, a lot of what I've talked about has been very helpful in many regards, of just meeting what's here in this moment, in a way that's light, fun, friendly, applicable, but two, I'm not missing the immensity of what's happening. So, yeah, thank you for letting me share. And with that, let's just leave just a few minutes of maybe silence and whatever else has come up for you, if you would just like to just throw it in, maybe just one more minute. Without trying to force anything, how about what is one thing that you're going to take away from this meeting? What's one thing that you really want to take away from this meeting? And if you'd like, maybe just sharing one or two words, what you would like to take away from this meeting. And mine is a sense of connection, not necessarily to each one of you, but to your presence. I don't know how to put that into words, but I feel very close to your presence in each one of you in Sangha here tonight. And that's what I'm taking away. Thank you.
I just hope that I can remember the compassion and definitely the importance of community.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd like to, this sounds good anyway. I'd like to try to bring the fierceness that I bring to my rage to the quality of my love.
Dirk keeps stealing my words. Um, I feel like I identify as like a fierce lover, and it's great, but if you wrong the person that I love or my people, oof, oof. So I would like to challenge myself to commit to be fiercely loving.
That's beautiful. And yeah, I want to thank you, everyone, for your dana. Sincerely, thank you. I have dropped the stuff in the chat. I just want to make it a habit to always have like the virtual hat passed before we close the meeting. And with that, would you like to close this out with a dedication of merit, Ruchi?
Yes. Why did I think I was done?
Thank you.
All right, we'll start with 3 deep breaths. And with every breath, allowing the loving kindness and compassion arise within our hearts. Imagining it as if it's overflowing to the cup of ourselves and spreading into the environment around us. And as it spreads through, we start sharing our merits. May I and everyone else be healed from pain, despair, trauma, anger, anguish, rage. May my practice help me to rise above these emotions and create a sense of compassion, kindness, understanding, peace, and happiness in my path of healthy liberation. May I develop a sense of compassionate eyes as I look at the world around me and within me. May I forgive myself and others for not being able to do so. May my practice from today and henceforth bring compassion and water the seeds of compassion and loving kindness within me and everyone else. May all beings benefit from my practice and my nurturing of this compassion seed. May all beings experience it through peace, happiness, and healthy liberation. May all the mentors, guides, and teachers that I have met on this path be able to grow on their path of liberation through my compassion and my loving kindness. May all of their compassion help me bolster my practice and my happiness and peace and healthy liberation. May the mistakes of the generations that I carry within myself as pain, discomfort, and hurt be healed across time and space and across generations. And may I break those generational ties and chains of the suffering. May all beings experience true compassion and kindness, peace and happiness, and a healthy liberation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you so much. I feel fired up. I hope you have a fiercely compassionate week. I am looking really forward to seeing some of you this week. Hopefully I get to see all you again this week. Just drop me a line or whatever. Yeah, and if not, have a great week. I'm really looking forward to seeing you again next week. And I like this fierceness. I'm feeling the fierceness from you guys. This is a new way to connect. So thank you for your fierceness. And with that, we can all say goodbye, I guess. Have a good night.
Good night.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.